Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. This video is going to be talking about one-shotting or near one-shotting acolytes. For those that want the long and the skinny of it, you are going to take a weapon with as much base damage as possible, and as high a crit chance and crit multiplier as possible, and then you are going to mod for corrosive. That's the long and the short of it. Don't worry about applying status effects with the weapon. You want something that deals raw, upfront, damage. Do not worry about applying status effects. So the video that I showed is going to be using a Fragor Prime. Here's the build. Very simple. It's a ton of crit chance. Just walking around without any combo counter is 128% crit chance. Let's do a little bit of math. On heavy attack with a 12x, which is what we're going to use, Blood Rush will gain 11 stacks for 440%. Sacrificial Steel normally has 220%, but on heavy attack it doubles for a 440, so combined with both, it's going to be 880%. We can check real quick and see that our crit chance is base of 40. So 40% plus 880%. We are at 392 crit chance just from 2 mods. Let's go back and check the build. And we also have Gladiator Might, which is giving us 10% crit chance per combo multiplier. Combo multiplier goes up to 12, but because one of those counts as your unbuilt combo multiplier, it's actually an 11 multiplier. So 10% times 11 is 110. 110%. 110% of 40 is 44. So we are going to add to 392 plus 44. And we are going to be at 436 crit chance, which is a phenomenal number. Because when one-shotting acolytes, they have a form of damage reduction. They have an overall 40% flat damage reduction, which is fine, but they also have a damage attenuation light, if you will. They're your level uncrit, level 0, no combo counter raw damage, where it counts modded damage, is capped at 14,600. So you count up, since we're doing heavy attacks, it's this number right here, your heavy attack damage, plus the bonus from Condition Overload. So in the video, the Acolyte had 3 or 4 statuses on it, so Condition Overload get increased by 4 times, so plus 360%, sorry, 320% of 15 or of 5. So 5751 plus 320% is 18,403 for our total raw damage. This is if we didn't crit at all. Obviously, that's not going to be the case. We have 128% crit chance, but this is base damage. This is a capped number. This number can also be modified by, say, like a heavy attack multiplier or mods that increase your heavy attack damage. So say something like Killing Blow, how it goes up to 12,000, could also be an option. So there are a couple of things you could potentially do, but with Condition Overload, we get to 18,000. That is way more than the 14,000 base damage. Tier 0 damage with no crit chance or crit damage included. Modded elemental damage is included, so this is well over. So what we need to do on top of that is we need to make sure that we are modded correctly for the Acolyte's weakness. And we will look up an example. The weakness is corrosive, but I just want to check the wiki. Okay, so Acolytes, their armor is weak to corrosive, shields are weak to magnetic, flesh is weak to viral. Not a big surprise. So we're going to go all in on viral so we can take advantage of the primed element, primed Fever Strike. If you are running against Corpus, you could run Magnetic to attempt a one-shot that way and do like Fever Strike to just get more damage, but that's going to cost you 3 mod slots. So just either full strip and mod for viral, like do a defense strip. You're going to have to recast it sometimes, but you can full strip them down to red. Or just mod for corrosive so you don't have to do anything, right? So the name of the game is base damage, at least to 14,600. Stance multipliers, heavy attack multipliers like killing blow, where it adds damage to the heavy attack. Condition overload, base damage, all factor in. 5,753 on the Fragor Prime is the like no modifier, no combo counter modifier or status modifier or any base damage increase from condition overload. So the base damage on this weapon is incredibly strong. It is a hammer after all. So we are going to be well over the 14,600. We're going to be getting tier 2 reds with a 36% chance to hit tier 3, which is fucking phenomenal. Just to go over it, 100% crit chance is tier 1 is yellows, 200% crit chance is tier 2. When you're looking at the wiki and seeing what your critical tier is, it literally just matches up with the first number out of the 100. So if it's 100, it's a tier 1. If it's a tier 1 crit, sorry, tier 2 on the tier, it's going to be a tier 1 crit. Orange is a tier 2, red's tier 3, and you'll do it that way. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. In this case, we have a 36% chance to hit a tier 2 red. Sorry, 36% chance to hit a tier 3 red, because 300% is a tier 3 crit, but a base level red crit. If you get what I'm saying. It's a little backwards, but when you're looking at the wiki and it's talking about the multiplier, the tier, you're basically going off the initial number. So with acolytes, they have the additional modifier on top of it to adjust the crit tier. This assumes that you have a crit. So you're not going to enter in a 0 or anything like that. 1, if you have a 100% crit chance, you put 1, 200%, and just go that way. So how much damage did we actually do? We hit the acolyte for about 500,000. And the math is actually pretty easy. So we're going to pull this over, use the calculator. Going to clear this because we know that we're over 14,600. That's the base damage, right? That's the capped base damage. So you can't go above this. So every other portion of damage is from a modifier. So we have to check our crit tier, and then we enter into this equation. So the base damage, the crit tier is 400%. So let's assume that we'll multiply it by 4 times 0.7, which gives us 0.28 minus 0.2. And then you have to multiply this number by the critical multiplier, which is 6.2. Not really, but we're going to do that anyway. Technically, it's 6.25. Sorry, I did that backwards. All right, so 2.6 times... It's 6.2 minus 1, so 5.2 for a 13.5, and then plus 1 for a critical modifier of 14, basically 14 and a half. And then we're going to multiply that by 14,600, which is our capped base damage for 200,000, 212,000 basically. So where did the rest of the damage come from? It came from the combo multiplier to the heavy damage, and the fact that it was a heavy attack, so we got the additional 12x. And then you have So you have times 12, because that's the heavy attack damage. And then times 0.4. And then the rest would be the acolyte's innate damage reduction, which we can figure out here. The acolyte was 200. So 78.72. So minus 78.72%. So about 216,000. Give or take, and there was probably another multiplier in there. To be honest, it could have been a tier 5, and that would have made up a little bit of it, plus like maybe a headshot multiplier. But give or take, you see that the damage starts getting pretty nutty. So this is the general gist, a little bit of math. Could have been a headshot, the guy was lunging at me, so that would have been an even higher multiplier. But we would need about another 2.5 times damage, so I could probably find that somewhere. But anyway, this is how you one-shot an acolyte. It's base damage. The heavy attack, if you do a heavy attack build, the number you need to remember is 14,600. And you need to be on a crit chance, crit damage weapon. And you need as much of that as humanly possible, and mod for corrosive. If you are running a full strip build, mod for viral. Otherwise, you can just use the Fragor with a 12x combo and just bop it, right? So that's how you do it. There's no mystery to it. Trying to kill an acolyte with like a status weapon is pure pain. So if you are running a primary and secondary where they are status-based damage-dealing weapons, so say like a Phantasma primary and like a Nucor or an Epitaph or whatever, having a pocket Fragor to specifically deal with acolytes is a phenomenal idea. So keep that in mind. This is how you do it. The Fragor is an excellent option. But this is how you one-shot acolytes. The same works with, just as a note, the same works with the Trumna. And you wouldn't even bother modding for status. It's literally Toxin Electric, and you throw 90 mods on the Trumna. And if you can stack enough crit chance on it, you can one-shot the acolyte with the alt-fire. I think you need the crit chance on headshot, so it's going to be a pain in the ass to build it up. But you can build it up and use that to get your reds, and you'll one-shot the acolyte. But it's because you're hitting such a high crit tier with such a high base damage, because the alt-fire has that insane base damage. So the number you need to remember to hit is 14,600, and then it's just crit tiers and crit damage after that once you're modded for corrosive. So anyway, PSA over. Take it easy, guys.